Hello, and welcome to Our Veil of Smoke and Gold podcast. I'm your host, Annalise, and this is part 2 of our Selkie informational episodes. If you haven't listened to part 1, please go back and listen to it now. In part 1, we discussed a first story, Selkie origins, first writings, and role in history, their nature, as well as physical characteristics and abilities, Selkie magical characteristics and abilities, their habitat, homes, and relationship with other fairy folk, their relationship with humans, and how to find, interact, trap, lure, or repel them based on said relationship. Today, in part 2, we will be discussing a second story, then analyzing that story and analyzing what the Selkie means in our modern day life, and then how it applies in my personal life. So, without further ado, welcome to part 2. This is our second story. The following story is a direct excerpt from The Fairy Bible by Teresa Mori. While there are many different interpretations and writings of this particular folktale, I found this variation to be especially to my liking, so this is the one I will be reading to you now. Once upon a time, in the cold northern lands, a weary hunter was returning home late at night. His journey brought him close to the seashore, where the full moon bathed the waters and the sands shone like pearl. He pushed through the bushes and then, to his amazement, saw 3 beautiful women dancing naked where the waves rippled about their slender feet. Mesmerized, the hunter watched, and it seemed to him that eerie music played in the light sea breeze. He looked down, and there on the sands lay 3 sealskins, one for each of the graceful dancers. The hunter had heard tales of seal women whose soulful eyes betrayed the fact that they had human souls. He was lonely and longed for a wife to share his nights. He looked once more at the lovely dancers and, on impulse, seized one of the skins and buttoned it up inside his coat. The dance was ending. With silvery laughter, the women skipped over to retrieve their skins, slipping inside them and diving into the waves. Only one, the most beautiful of all, could not find her skin, and was looking for it in increasing panic. "I have your skin," the hunter told her. "Come with me and marry me. I will give you back your skin after 7 years, and you may do as you please." Secretly, the hunter believed that the seal woman would be so happy with him that she would give up all thoughts of the cold ocean in favor of his hearth and home. How little he understood the call of the waves and their haunting music. What could the poor seal maiden do? She consented and went away with the hunter, and they lived together happily enough. She did all that was expected of her. Only her huge gray eyes were distant, gazing every so often towards the sea. She bore the hunter a son and loved him dearly, but her skin grew cracked and dry, and her beautiful face was sad. At the end of 7 years, she came to her husband and begged for her sealskin, but he became angry. "Would you leave your son?" he challenged her. "Would you go and disappear into the waves?" After that, the seal woman became even quieter and more sorrowful, and her eyes became larger and larger, like great pools. Yet, never did she shed a tear, for some sorrows are too great for crying. Her son loved her dearly and did all he could to lift her spirits. One night, he hid amongst the shadows and listened to his parents talking and realized the truth about his mother. Unable to bear the thought of her unhappiness, he took to following his father around stealthily until one day he saw him dig up a sealskin, check that it was intact, and bury it again. The boy was overjoyed. Now he could make his mother smile. He waited until his father was out hunting and returned to where the skin lay beneath the ground. Swiftly, he dug it up and ran with it to his mother. How her gray eyes shone when she saw her skin. Hardly stopping to embrace the boy, she ran to the shore, where she slipped into the skin and made for the waters. The boy ran after her, crying, "Mother, please, don't leave me. Take me with you." For an instant, the seal woman hesitated. Then, she got hold of her son, breathed her magic breath into him, and carried him with her, beneath the waves. In the underwater world, the boy learnt many wondrous things, absorbing the wisdom and grace of his mother's people. But he knew he could not stay forever, for his destiny lay in the earthly world with his father. When the time was right, his mother took him back to the shore and, kissing him for the last time, took sorrowful leave of her only child. The devastated hunter was overjoyed to see his boy back again and helped him to adapt once more to life on land. But every time the lad looked out on the moonlit waves, he could feel the presence of his mother. At length, he became a renowned musician, and his greatest pleasure was to sit upon the beach and play, while the seal people cavorted far out in the ocean. Story and Fae analysis. The Selkies, Roan, and seal people of Celtic myth are, on so many occasions, neglected and overlooked by modern society. Their spotlight traded for the more vengeful or salacious mermaids and sirens depicted in fairy tales, novels, films, and artwork. Selkies are a peaceful and sensitive people who are far beyond the domestic duties of being a mother and a spouse. There are themes of oppression in many Silky brides' tales. a man's greed leading him to enslave the undeniable beauty and mystique that is the Seal Maiden. And which is how women are often portrayed in folklore. Unattainable, precious things for the taking. In almost every fairy bride story is an underlying story of abuse. Roan culture differs so greatly from that of ours that being coerced into assimilating to human life is a torture and altogether wrong to who they are. Therefore, introducing a side of racial oppression as well. Unconsciously, we may find ourselves trying to make others who may appear different be more like us instead of accepting who they are. The Seal Maiden's longing for the sea symbolizes the yearnings of humanity for something deeper and more complex than we can even comprehend. The call of our soul and vastness of the world and all its secrets. In a way, the Selkies knowing where they're supposed to be and who they truly are, free and among the waves, is a beautiful and almost unimaginable concept for most people. I can speak from experience as a teen. If there's one thing I'm absolutely sure of, it's that I have no idea what kind of person I'll become, much less what I think defines me now. This confidence sets Selkies apart from their other underwater fae, particularly mermaids. I mean, the Little Mermaid was so confused, she literally died trying to be something she was never meant to be for the purpose of being with someone who she barely knew. When analyzing the previous story, it also shows us that the product and benefit of believing in magic, or theoretically, being born of magic, is creative inspiration, such as how the hunter and Silky's son grew to be a prominent musician after spending time with his mom. Retaining a sense of wonder of the world around us fuels the imagination and can help us achieve happiness, as well as accomplish many goals we may have in life. That is what we can take away from the Selkie and her story. Okay, this is my personal magic section, where I will be discussing how the Selkie and its messages relate to my life. So, my first note is that I think it's admirable Selkies have a goal and do whatever it takes to follow through. If they're in captivity, they do whatever it takes to escape, and they don't stop trying until they get back to their real home. Personally, I think I'm a very goal-oriented person. Right now, I have about 1 million goals and stretch goals that will hopefully lead to me becoming a pediatrician. I also think it's really important that they know and understand that they don't conform to the standards of human life. So they don't try to meet anyone else's expectations. They just don their sealskins and escape. I am so lucky to be a part of a kind and accepting friend group, because I know that many girls my age are in a toxic friend situation that they feel like they can't escape from. They're a group about 15 girls. We all sit out at lunch and we laugh and talk and generally do quirky and weird things. But I feel like we're still able to be ourselves to a high degree. There's a quote in my mom's book, A Hidden Memory of Objects. Check it out if you have any time. That I think really sums up how unimportant and trivial being normal really is. Quote, "Normal is a statistical invention. It is not a desirable personality trait." End quote. We all really try to conform to everyday standards that are arbitrary. So I just think it's thrilling to read about a fae who knows who they are and who knows what they're supposed to be doing, because that is just such an exciting idea. In summary, Selkies are fairies from Celtic myth that are capable of transforming into a seal by putting on a magical sealskin coat. They are kind and forgiving, unlike their mermaid counterparts, as well as beautiful in a sad, knowing way. Sea people occasionally mate with humans, either because they choose to come ashore, are forced into marriage when their skin is stolen, or are summoned by dropping 7 tears into the sea. When Selkies bear a human child, this offspring takes on a fish-like appearance. But in the end, all Selkie mortal relationships end in tragedy. For the Selkies' true home is in the sea, specifically on skerries, rocky islands or reefs, or in some other underwater worlds, like a cave. And that concludes the episode. Please leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting source you're listening to this from, and feel free to email me at ourveilofsmokeandgold@gmail.com about any concerns, feedback, suggestions on fairies, or anything else you want me to know. Doing this really encourages me to continue recording this podcast. And the trouble with most of us is that we would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. Norman Vincent Peale said that, so I do welcome any constructive criticism. I'm just a kid, but I find that we do really well at learning at my age. Thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in to learn about the shape-shifting fairies we know as Selkies. And I commend you for having the patience to listen to a middle school girl ramble on about a topic. My sources for this episode include An Encyclopedia of Fairies by Catherine Mary Briggs, The Fairy Bible by Teresa Morey, Abbey Lovers, Banshees, and Boggarts by Catherine Briggs, and Legends of the Selkies, Hidden Gems of Sea Mythology, an article at ancientorigins.net. This is Annalise on Our Veil of Smoke and Gold podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next episode.